I remember the day my acceptance letter arrived like it was yesterday. The air felt electric, like the universe itself had paused to witness this moment with me. I stood by the mailbox, hands shaking, heart thumping in my chest. That thick envelope from Columbia University was everything I'd worked for: late nights studying, skipping outings with friends, and holding part-time jobs just to make sure I didn't fall behind. I had done it. I was in. I ran inside, screaming, "I got in, Mom, Dad. I got into Columbia." My mom was in the kitchen, half distracted by a cooking show on her iPad. My dad looked up from his laptop with a tired expression. They both smiled. "Kind of," and my mom clapped weakly. "That's great, honey," she said, turning back to the stove. "Did you check if they offered financial aid?" I blinked. "Well, not yet. But remember? You said my college fund would cover tuition no matter what." Dad nodded, but something about the way his eyes avoided mine gave me pause. "Well, let's sit down and talk tonight, okay?" he said. That was the first red flag. But I was too high on adrenaline to notice it. Growing up, I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who followed rules, brought home straight A's, and never gave my parents a reason to worry. Then there was my brother, Ryan. Ryan, the golden boy, the charming, impulsive disaster in the making. He was the kind of person people naturally gravitated toward: funny, confident, and utterly unreliable. He had bounced between 3 colleges, crashed cars, and quit every job he'd ever had. But somehow, my parents never stopped bailing him out. When I was 13, Ryan got caught stealing from our neighbor. My parents made me bake cookies and bring them as an apology. I was the one who had to restore the family's good image. When he dropped out of community college the first time, my parents told everyone he was taking a gap year to find himself. And when he totaled his first car, he just fell asleep at the wheel. It could happen to anyone. It was always like that. That evening, we sat down for the conversation my dad had promised. I sat at the dining table, still buzzing with excitement, folder full of printed acceptance letters and scholarship options. My parents sat across from me, stiff and quiet. My mom was the first to speak. "Sweetheart," she began, "we are so proud of you." "But," my dad added, and there it was, that dreaded word. "But we have to talk about your college fund." My smile faltered. "Okay," Dad cleared his throat. "You know how things have been with Ryan. He's been struggling." I felt a cold pit form in my stomach. "What does that have to do with my fund?" "We used it," Mom said gently. Silence. "You what?" "We gave it to Ryan," she said. "He needed it more. He was in a tough spot and, well, you're smart, honey. You can get scholarships, grants. You always figure things out." My mouth went dry. "He needed it more," I repeated, voice cracking. "You took my fund money you promised was for my future and gave it to him? After all the chances you've already given him?" "He was in debt, sweetheart," Dad said. "He had people coming after him. We couldn't just let him sink. So you let me sink instead." I whispered. They didn't answer. That night, I locked myself in my room and cried harder than I ever had in my life. It wasn't just about the money. It was about everything. The years I spent being the dependable one, the sacrifices I made, the way I kept myself small and quiet so Ryan could shine, hoping one day my turn would come. That day had finally arrived and they stole it from me. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I couldn't even look at them the next morning. And what hurt the most, they didn't seem nearly as heartbroken as I was. No one came to check on me. No one tried to explain further. I was supposed to just accept it. School counselors tried to help me apply for aid. I wrote essays, filed appeals, even considered community college, though it wasn't what I dreamed of. Every option was a compromise. Every solution felt like swallowing a part of my dignity. Meanwhile, Ryan breezed in and out of the house like nothing happened. He even had the nerve to brag about how he was finally getting his life back on track. One day, I caught him laughing on the phone in the kitchen. "Yeah, man. Mom and Dad paid off the whole thing. Can you believe it? Like, poof, gone. I'm good now. Might even start my own business." That was the moment something in me snapped. I marched in and slammed the fridge shut. "You think this is funny?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. "What's your problem?" "You took everything from me," I hissed. "And you don't even feel guilty, do you?" He scoffed. "Don't be so dramatic. It's just money." "No, it was my future." He rolled his eyes. "Oh, come on, you'll still go to college. You're like a genius or whatever. You'll figure it out." He walked away without another word. I started to withdraw from everyone. My friends, who were all busy planning dorm shopping trips and graduation parties, couldn't understand what I was going through. I watched as they picked out their bedding and printed their class schedules, while I was filling out FAFSA forms and searching for last-minute community college options. Every time I saw Ryan's face, I felt my stomach churn. But it wasn't just him. It was them, my parents, the people who were supposed to protect me, champion me, believe in me. They had taken a knife and stabbed it straight through the one thing I had left, hope. I confronted them again 2 weeks later, still trying to make sense of it. Even regret what you did? I asked. They looked tired, worn out. We didn't have a choice, Dad said. Double quotes. Yes, you did, I said. You just didn't choose me. I ended up enrolling in a local college instead. No ivy-covered dorms, no East Coast autumns, just a commuter campus 30 minutes from home. I lived with the constant reminder of everything I'd lost, forced to smile through family dinners while Ryan talked about his investor meetings. I started working 2 jobs, weekends at a bookstore and evenings tutoring high schoolers. My grades suffered. My mental health tanked. And yet, no one asked me how I was holding up. But the worst part? They acted like everything was fine. My mom even had the audacity to say at Thanksgiving, "We're so proud of how you've adjusted, sweetheart." Not everyone could handle such a change with such grace. I wanted to scream. What they saw as grace was just me swallowing my pain, me bottling up years of being second best, me bleeding out behind a fake smile. I knew something had to change. I couldn't keep living under their roof, pretending this betrayal hadn't gutted me. I had to take back control, even if that meant walking away from everything. But my self-respect. So I started planning, quietly, secretly. I didn't know where it would lead yet, but I knew one thing for certain. I would never let them decide my worth again. Something changed in me after that Thanksgiving dinner. It was the way my mom smiled, so proud of how I'd adjusted. The way Ryan asked me if I could edit his resume, like nothing had ever happened. The way Dad watched football with him, on the couch, laughing like we were still some happy family. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling for hours, feeling like I was drowning in a family I didn't recognize anymore. I wasn't okay. I didn't adjust. I endured. And I was done pretending. I started spending more time on campus, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't stand being in that house. I buried myself in my studies and work, in anything that made me feel like I still had some control. But the resentment kept building, curling in my chest like smoke. Then something strange happened. One of my professors, Dr. Klein, approached me after class. He said my writing was some of the best he'd seen and asked why I hadn't applied for the university's honors scholarship program. I blinked, because I didn't know it existed. He furrowed his brow. That's odd. Your high school counselors should have told you, or your parents. It's meant for students exactly like you, top of the class, high sats, leadership experience. I smiled tightly. My parents were focused on other things. He gave me a knowing look and handed me a brochure. That night, I dug through old paperwork, stuff I hadn't looked at since high school, transcripts, letters of recommendation, college prep materials. Buried in the stack was something I had never seen before, a printout from my college counselor dated nearly a year earlier. It was an eligibility report for several scholarships, including the state-funded Guaranteed Future grant, which would have fully paid for any public university I chose, plus a $10,000 stipend. It had my name on it. In the top right corner, I saw documents to be signed by legal guardian no later than March 15th. Today was November. I had never seen it. They never gave it to me. I sat frozen, the edges of the paper crumpling in my fist. I stormed downstairs, holding the form. My mom was watching her show again, and my dad was reading something on his tablet. "You knew about this?" I asked, voice trembling. They looked up. "What's that, this?" I shoved it toward them. "The state scholarship. You had to sign this for me to get it. Why didn't you?" My mom blinked, eyes scanning the page. Then she sighed. "Oh, that. Yes, I remember. We talked about it. But at the time, you already had the college fund, remember? We didn't think it was necessary. Didn't think it was." I choked. "You didn't even ask me." "It was a busy time," Dad said. Ryan, I snapped. "Of course." Mom stood, placing a hand on my arm. "We didn't do it maliciously. We just made a decision, for the family." "You mean for Ryan," I said, pulling away. "Don't be like this," she said, her voice cool now. "We've done our best." "No," I said. "You've done your best for him. You've never once chosen me. Not when it mattered." After that night, something hardened inside me. I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to find out everything. I wanted to know how much of my future had been sacrificed and how many lies had been told in the process. I began watching Ryan more closely. He was always so smug, like the world would catch him if he fell. I figured he'd slip up eventually, and he did. One afternoon, while he was out, I overheard him arguing on the phone in the backyard. I crept toward the window and listened. Double quotes, no, dude, I told you I'd get the rest of the money next week. Chill out. Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. My parents still think I'm using it for loans. But I'm investing it, alright, just be patient. My blood turned cold. Loans. Investing. He wasn't paying off debt. He was lying. That same night, I waited until everyone was asleep and snuck into Ryan's room. I found his laptop under his bed. The password was his dog's name figures. What I saw made my stomach flip. Bank statements. Crypto transactions. Wire transfers to some guy named Vince. Notes about a business pitch he was planning with a friend to launch an NFT-based influencer brand. My college fund wasn't used to save Ryan. It was used to feed his delusions. The next morning, I skipped class and went to the bank. I asked for a transaction history from the account my parents had set up for my college expenses. The woman behind the counter raised her eyebrows but printed it anyway. The total amount withdrawn over a 6-month period, $86,000. $86,000. My parents had always told me the fund was around $60,000. Now I knew they'd been lying for years. Not only had they drained it, they padded it first, probably pulling from savings or credit, just to keep Ryan from facing consequences. They didn't just gamble with my education. They built a throne out of my dreams and crowned Ryan king. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went silent. I packed a small bag, grabbed my laptop, and left. I didn't even leave a note. I went to stay with my friend Natalie, someone I drifted from during the chaos, but who welcomed me back without hesitation when I explained everything. You can crash here as long as you want, she said. Your parents are psychotic. I smiled for the first time in weeks. With her help, I started applying for emergency housing on campus and reached out to Dr. Klein, who immediately stepped in. He helped me secure a scholarship that covered tuition for the rest of the year. It wasn't Columbia, but it was something I earned. I also applied for legal aid, because something else Dr. Klein told me kept ringing in my head. If the college fund had been in my name, as it should have been, my parents had no legal right to touch it without permission. But that would depend on how the account was structured. So I dug. And what I found made my hands go numb. The account had originally been a custodial account in my name transferred to my father's name. When I turned 17, I would have had full access to it within the year, if he hadn't quietly moved it to his own. They'd waited just long enough to ensure I couldn't claim it. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was theft. And I wasn't going to let it go. But I wasn't going to sue them, not yet. I wanted something they'd never forget. I wanted them to feel what it was like to have something pulled out from under them without warning. So I did the one thing I knew would shake them. I told the truth, every bit of it. I wrote a full account of what happened, dates, amounts, screenshots of Ryan's crypto statements, audio recordings I had made, everything, and submitted it anonymously to a local online blog that specialized in family drama exposes. They published it within days, changing the names but leaving the details brutally clear. And then I shared it on my social media. Every family friend saw it. Every neighbor, every cousin, every parent from my high school Facebook group. People commented in disbelief and rage. Some reached out privately to ask if it was about me. I never confirmed. I didn't have to. My parents called over 20 times. I didn't answer. Ryan texted me, furious. Why the hell are people asking me about crypto scams? Did you say something? I turned off my phone. Let them stew. Let them face the shame, the whispers. The way it feels to be the subject of disappointment for once. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. And it wasn't over yet. I didn't know what would happen after I exposed them. I didn't do it to destroy anyone. I didn't even use their names. I just wanted to tell my truth, the truth they tried so hard to hide beneath fake smiles and Sunday dinners. But the fallout was bigger than I expected. The post went semi-viral in our town. People connected the dots quickly. My parents had been part of the community for over 2 decades, always presenting themselves as the hardworking, closed-knit family, church-going, polite, involved. Everyone thought we were picture perfect. Now, the cracks were visible to all. My aunt was the first to call me. Is this about you? She asked gently. I hesitated. What do you think? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, your mother always coddled Ryan, but I never imagined she'd go this far. That unlocked the floodgates. Within a week, I started hearing from distant relatives, some expressing support, others just fishing for gossip. One cousin who I barely knew messaged me, "Girl, I read that post 3 times. I thought it was fiction until someone said your dad took out a second mortgage for Ryan. Is that true?" Yes, it was. And they did it without telling anyone, not even each other's siblings. My parents were humiliated, but more than that, they were exposed. At first, I thought they'd try to smooth things over with me, maybe reach out with some kind of apology or at least an excuse, but no, they doubled down. My mom texted me one night, "You've made your point. Can you please stop ruining our lives?" That was it. No apology, no accountability, just guilt tripping. I stared at the message for a long time. She still didn't get it. I hadn't ruined anything. I had just revealed what they had already destroyed. Ryan, predictably, went into full damage control mode. He started telling people I was jealous of him, that I had always resented him for being the favorite, and now I was lashing out. Classic projection, but it didn't work. Too many people had seen the evidence. Screenshots, account numbers, transaction logs, cold hard proof. And while they might have written me off as the quiet sibling before, no one could deny I had receipts now. Then came the twist I never saw coming. About a month later, I was sitting in the campus library when I got an email from a lawyer. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I read the subject line, "Ray, unauthorized use of UTMA account. Representation offer." The body of the email explained that this attorney specialized in cases involving custodial account misuse. He had read the blog post, connected it to me through mutual contacts, and offered a free consultation. I was stunned. I met with him 2 days later. Turns out, my parents had absolutely no legal right to move my money the way they did. The account had been set up under the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act UTMA, meaning it was legally mine once I turned 18. The moment they moved that money for someone else's benefit, they committed a breach of fiduciary duty. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was fraud. I didn't sue right away. I gave them one last chance. I sent a letter, formal, clear, unemotional, explaining what I'd learned and requesting that they repay the amount taken within 90 days or face legal consequences. They didn't respond. So I filed. The case took several months. During that time, I moved into student housing full-time, finally separating myself completely from their home, their drama, their guilt. They tried to fight the lawsuit, of course, claimed they were acting in the family's best interest. But the judge didn't buy it, especially not when we presented bank statements, proof of crypto trades, and messages Ryan had sent bragging about how he was using his sister's money. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. They were ordered to pay back $91,000, including interest and legal fees. They appealed. They lost again. The money didn't erase the years I spent being overlooked. It didn't undo the gut punch of watching my dream college slip through my fingers. But it gave me something I'd never had before: power. For the first time in my life, I was seen. Not as the quiet one, not as Ryan's sister, but as someone who fought back. I used a chunk of the settlement to transfer to a better university, one I'd originally applied to. Before the betrayal, I used the rest to start a savings account, something I'd been told was unrealistic before. I even traveled that summer Italy, France, and Amsterdam with a group of students. The first time I ever left the country. The first time I felt free. As for my parents, we haven't spoken since the court ruling. They sent one final message through a family friend, saying they were deeply hurt by how things turned out, that they wished I had come to them first. But I had. So many times, they just never listened. Ryan moved in with friends after the lawsuit. His business fell apart. I heard from a mutual friend that he had to sell his car and take a job at a warehouse. Karma doesn't need to come loudly. Sometimes it creeps in quietly, behind closed doors. Now, I'm about to graduate with honors. I'm applying to graduate. School's on my terms, with my funding, and no one else calling the shots. I tutor other students who feel invisible in their families. And when they ask why I care so much, I smile and say, because I know what it's like to be the silent sibling. But I'm not silent anymore.